Welcome to Fully Exposed, a podcast that explores the taboo and unconventional in an attempt to educate your ass. I'm your host, Jessica Beuker. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the show. I'm here with our guest, Jo Primeau, or as he's also known, Juiceboxx. Welcome, Jo.
Hi.
Hi. Before we dive in, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
My name's Jo Primeau. I'm a makeup artist by trade, special effects artist as well, and I also do drag full-time, so that's pretty cool.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing drag for, and how did you get started?
Right now, I think I've been doing drag just over 3 years, and I started I was friends with all the drag queens in the city, like Church and Wellesley and all them, so I used to go out quite a bit. I was a bit of a drinker. That's fine. But I used to go out quite a bit, so I made friends with all the girls. So I got really close with one. Her name is Scarlett Bobo. We became really close, and her career started to really launch on Church Street. And a couple of my friends, we would always go to all her shows. We would always go and support her and stuff. And then one day there was this competition that she had entered called Cruise and Tango's Drag Race. And she unfortunately didn't make it all the way. But the next year, me and a handful of friends were like, oh, we're going to do it just for fun, whatever. And just to do it for the night. And then I had done like a drag debut a couple weeks before from a couple of my friends named Monty and Joey. They do parties in the village under Mojo Events. They had premiered me, so I did this like big party, and I did like one performance, and it was a mess. But I mean, for what it was good. But I had done that, and then I had decided to do the competition, and I was like, I'm just going to do the one night, and then like if I make it, I make it, but I'm probably not going to keep going. And I ended up getting 4th place out of an 8-week competition.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was still a mess. I could barely stand in heels, but I made it all the way to 4th. So that was really cool, and I made a lot of really close friends. And then I was like, I guess I'll just like stick with it, because it was a fun creative outlet. It got all these like feminine tendencies. It gave me an outlet for those, and it also was cash in my pocket. And I was kind of struggling with money around then. So I was just like, oh my God, I've just got all this extra money now. It's just, I can buy whatever I want. So I just kind of stuck with it from there. And then I just sort of fell in love with the art. And I've just been sort of riding that wave.
Wow, that's awesome. So I've been to quite a few drag shows myself. And they're always full of color, extremely high energy, and a lot of fun. But that's all that we as the audience see. We never get to see the work and the preparation that kind of makes these shows seem effortless. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering what goes into planning and preparing for a show. I've seen some of your pictures, and your transformation is incredible.
Thanks.
Can you walk us through that process of getting into drag?
Like start to finish?
Yes.
Oh, God.
We might be here a while.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, sit down. So basically what I do is I usually eat before, because I know I'm not going to eat after. So I usually have like some kind of meal, because I know I'm going to be so hungry by the end. So I usually eat, and then I jump in the shower and I shave, and I'm quite hairy. Like I'm a hairy man. So I have to shave everything from my belly button all the way up. And I even shave my head. So like just the whole thing, depending on what costume I'm wearing. Sometimes I can like skip my armpits, but like I really got to do it all. And then once I do that, I jump out of the shower, shave my face, and then I go to my makeup station, and I start painting. So painting for people in drag is doing your makeup. So I start painting my face, and that for me doesn't take too long. I've kind of perfected my face in a way where I don't need to take 2.5 hours to do it, but most queens, when they start, take like 2.5 hours. My face takes anything from a half hour to 45 minutes. It's not bad, and I just like fire it on. From there, normally I live in North York, so I'm Don Mills and Shepherd, so I have to drive quite far to get to my gig. So I've got to go all the way down the DVP. So I pack up my drag, pack up my hip pads, pack up my tights, pack up whatever costumes I'm going to be wearing that night. And when I get to the gig, so that's another like 15-20 minute drive. So when I get to the gig, then I usually get in full drag. So that includes tucking, putting on my tights, padding if the costume needs it, putting on my costume, removing portions of my makeup to be able to glue my wig on. And then once my wig is on, then I've got to brush it out and then put on my heels and then give the DJ my music and get on stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is quite the process.
Yeah, it's a long time.
So how often would you say that you perform in drag? Like, are you doing this quite often? Is this a process that you have to do often?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't performing often for a while because I did have a day job, and I just sort of didn't find it fulfilling for a while, and I was sort of losing interest, and I was feeling really stagnant. So my husband actually sat me down one day, and he was just like, you know what? He's like, just quit and just start doing drag full time. So now I'm a full-time queen. I'm working anywhere between like one night a week or 5 nights a week. It really depends. It's because I have one weekly gig on Mondays, so I do that every single Monday night, and then I can be doing, like last week I was in drag from Monday to Monday every single night. But then this week I have a beard, so I have no gigs.
Wow. So it's kind of just, you take it as it comes, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've encountered along your journey. You said this was something that sort of just started out as a hobby, and now it's a full-time thing. Obviously, as with any career, that doesn't come without its challenges. So what are some of the things that you have found challenging?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of problems sometimes with drag because sometimes people have a lot of misconceptions about it. Sometimes there's some things with family. I have a very open and accepting family. So my family was just like, yeah, that's fine as long as it makes you happy and you're making money. Like I'll get texts from my dad being like, how much you make last night? So I know that he likes it as long as I'm getting paid for it. And then like with my husband and stuff, it took him a little bit to kind of get it, but then once he did get it, he fell in love with it. So he makes my costumes. He drives me to all my gigs. He's really supportive. Sometimes if he can, he's a teacher. He can't come to much, but when he can come, he just sits in the back and he's very quiet, but he watches. He's really supportive and he listens to my rants. But the hard thing sometimes can be the community. It can be a little hard sometimes because it's definitely a sisterhood, but it's not a sisterhood that you can just walk into. You definitely have to earn your place. So with RuPaul's Drag Race, a lot of the times these boys will put on full drag and just kind of expect themselves to be superstars overnight. They'll just show up and think because they're pretty that people are just going to book them and people are going to respect them, and the other queens are going to love them and give them gigs and want to talk to them and hang out with them. But you really do have to earn your place in the sisterhood that we have, right? So it's definitely not something that's gained overnight. You definitely do have to earn it, and that is a really big struggle.
Definitely. It actually bleeds nicely into my next question, which was, I mean, obviously with any performing or artistic community, there's going to be those tensions. And I was going to ask, without naming names or throwing anyone under the bus, can you speak a little more to that politics that might be behind the scenes? Have you ever had yourself like any tensions with like another queen, and how would you go about resolving that?
I mean, yeah, I try to stay pretty neutral. I do. I try not to get involved in things, especially over the years, seeing the way that things can kind of unravel with other queens. I stopped drinking, so I don't get really drunk and I'm like, you're a bitch. Like, I don't do that. I have had moments where I've said some disrespectful things, but I have apologized. But yeah, I have had some struggles in the past. I also was a little arrogant at the beginning, which we all are. We all have to have humbling experiences. But basically, it's just anytime with any job, you just kind of have to like talk it out and, explain yourself, hear the other person's side, see somebody else's view on it. And, you can work things out. But a lot of the times because we're working in nightlife, some people are just irrational, right? So some people you just can't get through. So you just kind of have to take it as, you know what, I don't like you and you don't like me. And then that's fine. And we can be professional because this is our job. But if you don't want to be professional, then that's fine. I know I will. Right?
Right. Let's talk about the name. On stage, you go by Juiceboxx.
Oh, no.
I'm wondering if the name is completely random or if there's like something that ties to you.
Do you want the full story?
I do want the full story, yes.
So stupid. It's really dumb. So basically me and one of my really close friends, we used to do a web series together. So we were hanging out all the time. Like we were constantly together. We worked on set together. I used to do makeup on set. And he was doing continuity. His name's Alex. We were constantly together. And one day we were just like laying on the bed, joking around, just being stupid. And we were watching Will and Grace, and Karen Walker had picked up these 2 boxes of wine. And she was just like, I brought Juiceboxx. And he literally rolled over and he's like, that should be your drag name. And I was like, okay. And that's it.
That's a great story though.
It's kind of dumb. But then because I kind of fell into drag. It was an accident. And then I just sort of stuck with it. And then like every time I would mention this name, a lot of people were like, oh my God, it's so dumb. Keep it. And then like I looked it up. And there's another meaning for it is, can I get like explicit? Is that fine?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it means a pussy full of gum.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yep.
Filthy. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll keep it.
I'll keep it. It's dirty, so I'll keep it.
Yeah, it kind of is like sort of fun. And then like it's different, so it sort of sticks in people's minds. Older queens think my name is Juiceboxx, like the music machine. And I'm like, that's fine. You can think that.
Urban Dictionary can really ruin any word these days.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So going back to the shows, is there a particular performance that you would say is your best performance?
Yeah, I guess there was one performance that I recently did. So again, back to the Cruise and Tango's Drag Race. It's really been something that stuck with me for a while because it's like drag boot camp. It is 8 weeks of intense drag. You're doing a new number every single week, and I've done it 3 times. The first 2 times I placed 4th. The second time I placed 2nd, and then the third time I won. So Yahoo, that was exciting.
That's amazing.
But my winning number was I did Roxanne from Moulin Rouge. Do you know that song?
I do.
Yeah. So I'd recently gotten into more of a drag burlesque kind of thing because I'm not a very good dancer, I would say. I'm not like, I can keep a beat and I can entertain a crowd, but if you toss me like an hour worth of choreography, it's going to be a mess. So I started doing this burlesque thing and I got really comfortable with it and I really started to enjoy it, and it has this slow sex appeal. And I wanted to sort of marry the two together for my final performance. So I did this performance where I had 2 dancers, Emilio Calalilo, I have trouble saying it, and Matt Elderacher. They were my dancers. They're sweet, really talented boys. And I basically had this like black bob on, and I had this red like salsa dress, and we did this like tango where Emilio was like my pimp kind of lover, and then like Matt was like my true love, and we did this like kind of intense tango between the 3 of us where we would like pass me off and there was lifts and there was movement, and then they ended up at this really like high peak in the song. They, instead of me stripping, they stripped me, but it was like this violent kind of like ripping my clothes off sort of thing. And then we did like another tango with like, but there was a lot more lifts and there was a lot more like pushing and movement and there was a lot of emotion in it. And then the number ended with both of them ripping my bra in half off of my body. And it was something I'm very proud of. And I like, sometimes, I hate to say this, but sometimes I just like sit and watch it because I'm like, oh, that's so good.
That sounds phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, I really did enjoy it. And it was really fun. And I was really proud of myself to be able to actually do a dance, because normally it's like, whoa, that was bad.
Now that we've heard the best.
Oh, no.
Maybe we should have started with this one. What about your worst performance?
My worst performance was Pride 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 Prides ago. And we had done I don't want this to get back to me, that me bashing Pride, but like it was a mess. It was me, Scarlett Bobo, and Ivory Towers, and we had choreographed this big number. We did this like, it was almost like an Alice in Wonderland kind of theme where I was the rabbit, Ivory was Alice, and Bobo was the Red Queen. And Scarlett Bobo has this giant heart reveal gown that she was going to do, and Ivory had this huge dance number with the dancers, and then I had this like Ariana Grande like rabbit sexy leather part, and we had strung it all together, and it was a really strong number, and they had put us at like a really big part of the night, and it was at Dundas Square, so there was like thousands of people there, and we were doing the performance, and I had done my part. I got off stage, and then Ivory went on to do her part, and the music cut out and like completely gone. So she just stood there, and it was off for like 30 seconds. And then when it came back on, it was Scarlett's part. So they had just cut out all of Ivory's part. So she had to run off. The dancers had to run back on in their underwear. Scarlett had to run on in her gown. She did the reveal, and then we all had to go up we had this big final number together. So we all had to go up, and we were all frazzled, and we had to like do this final number, and like the dancer went to flip me up, but because we weren't really in the right mind space, he had dropped me, and he had to like grab me on my way down, and he spun me, and we like all screwed up the choreo, and then like there was an extra minute tacked on to the songs. So then after the dancers left, it was just all of us like kind of dancing for like a minute with no choreography. So we were like, hey, thousands of people, hope this is okay. And it just was a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we went to Pride, and we were like, oh, what the fuck? And they were just like, oh, sorry. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Good, great apology.
Yeah. Sounds like a little bit of a clusterfuck, but I'm imagining that probably, happens.
Yeah, it happens.
If anything, makes a story to tell years down the road at a podcast. So thank you. Yeah. So how much is planned of your shows, and how much would you say is improv?
Well, that's the sort of different thing with Toronto. Right? Toronto, we have some of the hardest working drag queens in, I would say, the world. Like, I will say that, because we have to do marathon drag. Like, we're not like the queens where we go up, we do our one number, maybe 2 or 3 numbers, and then we go home. Like, we're on stage. We start at, say, 11 p.m., and us and a co-host are on stage until 2:30. Like, it is song after song after song after song after song. Right? So a lot of that, and that's like the standard for some bars where they're like, no, you're just on stage all night. And we're like, oh, great. So, a lot of that has to be improv, and we have to do mic work. We have to be able to entertain an audience. We have to be able to talk to strangers. We have to be able to keep their attention. We have to be able to do songs on the fly, because a lot of the times, like on a Friday night, they won't even want to talk to you. Like, you'll pick up the mic and be like, hey, how's everybody doing? And they're like, play Beyonce. And you're like, oh my God. So you have to be able to like whip out a Beyonce song, or you have to like, if they want all Lady Gaga all night, like sometimes they're just going to be savages, and it depends on what you can do, and you just got to kind of work on the fly. And that's a big part of it, and a big part of it has to be improv. But then there's other times where we get to really celebrate our art, and that's like very meticulously planned. Like, there's some shows where they let us kind of do whatever we want, and they're like, here you go, here's your show, have fun, you do you, and then you plan everything from like your lashes down to your shoes, down to whatever props you have. Right? So it's really, I find for Toronto, you get the whole spectrum. You get everything. You can watch drag all night long, or you can watch one amazing show.
That's awesome. Digging a little deeper here, what does drag mean to you? So what would you say motivates you to be part of this community, or to stay involved in this community?
Well, I've really fallen in love with the art of it. It's really beautiful and extremely difficult, and it's so fulfilling, right? When you get to be able to just like go up there and just like be so unapologetically you and feminine and over the top, and like you can see some of these people who are watching you, and they can sort of get that like a little bit of inspiration to sort of be a little bit more comfortable with themselves, right? Because because a lot of times people come to those shows to see us because we're goddesses to them, right? They want to see us perform. They want to see us in big sparkly outfits. They want to see us just dance around and whip our hair, do choreography and all this, because they just sort of see it as this like beautiful, freeing experience, right? So I just find it really extremely fulfilling. So I really just enjoy it.
What is the biggest misconception that people make about you? And does that affect you in any way?
Me personally?
Yes.
A lot of the time, I find a lot of people think I'm, and this is just me blowing smoke on my own ass. A lot of people think I'm trans, right? So a lot of people think that I'm just like living my life as a woman. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with being trans. I have so many beautiful trans friends, but I just personally am not. So I'm just like, no. And then a lot of the times it leads to these like men who are like hitting on me and they say these disgusting things, and they'll like a lot of the times, like I've had people come up and be like, hey, like, where do I find girls like you? I'm like, get away from me. Like,
Yeah.
it's the rudest thing to say to someone. So that's the only misconception I get is like these, or they think I'm a sex worker. And again, nothing wrong with being a sex worker. I'm just not. Right. So it's like, if you want a sex worker, there's ways to find that. Right. You don't have to come up to me in a bar when I'm working and I'm trying to give you a show and they're like, hey, do you want to suck my dick? Like, no, it's not what I want to do. It's hard pass. Hard pass on that one.
Just a lot of, I guess, labels thrown on you that just aren't necessarily true. And again, as you mentioned, not necessarily anything wrong with those things, but
yeah, no, nothing wrong with them. It's just not personally my life, right?
Yeah, totally. Do you keep your stage persona and your personal life separate, or do you find that they intertwine a lot?
I mean, it depends. The village isn't very big, right? So, and a lot of my friends are there. So, I'm not very social since I don't drink anymore. I don't really go out much anymore. And because I do live up with my husband in Don Mills and Shepherd, like I live around there, it's kind of hard for me to get downtown. So when I do go out, they do definitely intermix and intertwine because a lot of those people don't see me as Joe. They see me as Juice. So instead of being like, hey, Joe, come over here, they're like, Juice, right? So like, even like when I go to the gym, a couple of my friends who I work out with, they only know me from drag. So instead of calling me Joe, they're calling me Juice. And that gets a lot of funny stares, but I just think it's funny to be at a gym and someone calls you Juiceboxx. I'm like, yeah, Juiceboxx. So sometimes they sort of intermingle, but it's not bad, right?
What would you say is next for you? Is drag something that you can see yourself doing forever, or is there an end in sight?
I mean, it really depends. Me and my husband are hoping to have kids really soon. Well, really soon is like maybe like 5 years. That's soon. But we want to have kids. We want to have a family. We want to somehow maybe get a bigger space, right? So we're sort of playing it by ear right now. Drag full time is really fun, and I always feel like Juice will be a part of my life. But it really depends on where my life is in 5 years, right? But the beauty with drag is that you don't have to quit entirely, right? You don't have to be like, I never want to see this ever again, right? You could just be like, hey, you know what? I have a full-time job. Maybe I'll just bring Juice out once for Pride. Maybe I'll just bring Juice out for special gigs, right? Or you could be like, I want to go full-time and just do it every single night and never have a beard and always be very sore.
Is there something that you hope to accomplish in the drag community? Is there maybe it's something with a show, or I guess what are some of your personal goals within this career right now that you hope to attain?
I don't really think, just myself, I don't really think very long term when it comes to my drag. I always think very short term, right? It's weird, I know. But I always try to think like, oh, you know, I really want to do this show next, or I really want to do this act next, or I really want to do this. I'm hoping to get maybe like 1 or 2 more permanent gigs just so I can feel a lot more comfortable, right, in my drag. So I can just be like, you know what, this is my job. These are the days I work. And now I can concentrate on bigger things. Right. But if anything, it's just like allowing people to have fun. Right. I always just want to allow people to have fun. I always want people to enjoy the show. I always want people to sort of come and enjoy themselves and feel comfortable, because some people don't have places to feel comfortable. And our shows are really that place for them. Right. Short term.
Totally. Yeah. And the shows are extremely fun.
Thanks.
I never been to one of yours. I would love to come, but
don't. It's boring.
You're not selling it.
Womp, womp, womp.
But no, it's just that you're right about the community, and there's kind of such a high energy and just inclusive that you don't, I guess, necessarily feel in other places, especially like in a bar setting, which sometimes they can feel very exclusive depending on where you go. You never get that feeling, especially on Church Street, or I never did anyway.
Yeah, well, that's good. Some people do find that, but it's just I find it's just where you go or how you treat that space. Like some people are like, well, I don't like going to this bar because it's all like big men and they're all like, they won't talk to you unless you're a big beefy guy. And I'm like, those are your own insecurities. You need to maybe take that, put it in your pocket, and maybe just like have fun.
Yeah.
Right?
You get out of it, I guess, what you're willing to put in as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
You mentioned that drag is sort of this nice outlet to explore and release feminine energies. I'm just wondering if you can touch a little bit more on that. Being a male performer that goes into drag, there's kind of this interesting duality. How do you kind of go back and forth and explore, your masculine side and your feminine side?
Well, at the beginning, it was before I did drag. I'm like so effeminate, like so insanely over the top effeminate. Like when I had hair and no facial hair and I worked in retail, people would literally be like, give the nice lady the change. Like people thought I was a woman. And then again, nothing wrong with that. I love women and I love celebrating women, but I just wasn't a woman. So to be able to explore this like insanely high femme side of me has just given me this like outlet to kind of just let it all out in one afternoon and just be like as femme as possible. So then I don't have to act like that all the time, right? I can just live my life normal. I'm not like loud and constantly like making silly jokes or having to have all the attention all the time. Like I've actually become quite quiet over the years. I've become a little bit more introverted, right? And I would say that has one part growing up, but then also like now I have this outlet where I can be loud and sexy and effeminate and prissy and whatever and wear pink and sparkles. And then during the day I can just like chill out, like not be a big old queer. But again, nothing wrong with that. I am a big old queer, but it's just, it's sort of, it's weird. It's weird to explain, but like during the day now you wouldn't, I would just say I was annoying. I will just say that. I was so fucking annoying. I was just a big, loud gay boy. And now my big, loud gay boy is a drag queen. And now I'm just a normal person.
We have to talk about how you mentioned that your husband makes your costumes, because that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. How involved is he in the process of drag? Like you mentioned that he can't always come to your shows, but like he makes your costumes for you. How did that, I guess, start or happen?
It started with us trying to save money. That's how it started. He's very matter of fact. He's very like, A-type personality. So he saw it as like, you know what? No, I know how to sew. So I'm going to start making your costumes, right? We're going to save a bunch of money and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. My costume designer is going to live at home with me. Because I still have I still have these amazing costume designers that I get to work with. But he's sort of like now my main person. And then it's like a nice thing we can do together because we can be creative together and we can make these things together. And I like sit and like I can rhinestone and he like sews it. And then he gets all excited. Like he's a big nerd too. So he gets all geeked and stuff. There was this one costume we did. I'm going to tell you a story. There's this one costume we did with my friend Lee Lando. Lee Lando makes a couple more of my costumes. He makes a lot for the queens in the city. But I wanted to do you know the movie Anastasia?
Yes. So underrated.
Right? So good. So I wanted to do this. I had this grand idea and I wanted to do Once Upon a December for this competition I was in again this summer. It's drag boot camp, so all my stories are from it. But I wanted to do Once Upon a December, but I didn't want to do a ballad in a gown. I wanted it to be a spectacle. So I wanted to start the number in this like riggedy, gross, like her tattered little dress with the hat and the jacket. And I wanted to rip it all off and I wanted it to turn into her bright yellow gown. So they worked together and they made this beautiful costume. And it started with the tattered dress. I threw the jacket off, I threw the hat off, and then they had done this pulley system in the dress. So I ripped the strings out and I spun on stage and the whole gown exploded out. Oh my God, people were screaming. It was the best feeling in the world. And then I did this big, big, big reveal gown. I was in this sparkly yellow dress and he came on as the prince. It was so cute. So my husband walks on and crowns me and walks off. I know, it was the cutest moment. All the judges were like, oh. But what was great, though, is when we finally finished the dress at our apartment, Lee Lando had left and we were doing all the finishing touches and he had put it all together and we had worked so hard. It was like 48 hours of just sewing and stuff. And we had done the reveal in the living room and he started bawling his eyes out. He was like, it finally worked.
Oh.
I know, he's so cute. He is just a little nerd and I love him.
You definitely got the judges with the cute points on that one.
Oh, yeah. All the queens hate me. They're like, he loves you and he makes your costumes. I hate you.
Also, the mechanics of that dress are like blowing my mind.
Yeah. Him and Leland really did an excellent job together. I can show you the video after. Link in the bio. Funny.
What is Juiceboxx serving? What does the audience get when they come to a show?
Sex. Woof. Juice is I find she's very sexual, right? I always like to have this very high sexual energy. I always like to wear long flowing hairs, or even if my hairs are very short, I want them to be like almost like sex hair. Like I want that like wavy curl. I whip my hair around a lot. I do a lot of sensual movement. I was a very revealing for drag, revealing costumes. My movements are always very sexual. So yeah, I would say like sex wrapped in anime, wrapped in a dude, wrapped in more sex.
Wow. And there you have it.
There it is.
How much of that thrives off of the audience? I'd imagine, like, does it affect your performance if you end up getting like an audience that's just kind of like, blah?
A dud?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you get a dud audience, you just kind of have to play with it. Sometimes you're like, I'm going to play with them. If they're not going to do it, then I'm just going to find a spot on the wall. Just going to go through this night and we're going to make it. But sometimes you get a dud and that just happens. But I'm still going to give 100%. You know what? You know what a lot of us do sometimes? When we get a dud, we use that as practice. Right? We're like, this is a dud. I'm going to do all those songs I've wanted to do forever, and I'm just going to practice those songs. Right? So sometimes they're like, they don't give a shit anyway. Maybe I don't really know the lyrics to this one, but I'm going to try it out.
Might as well.
Yeah.
All right. So if somebody wants to come and see one of these sextastic shows, where can we come and see you perform? And also, where can people follow you on social media and see your amazing videos and transformations?
You can follow me at Juiceboxx, BOXX, 2 X's, Queen, on Instagram. I don't have Facebook anymore because I just got blocked for 30 days. And I don't know if I'm going to go back on the train because they do that a lot and it's really annoying. But if you want to try and add me, it's Joseph Primeau on Facebook. And then also, if you want to come see my shows, I am every Monday at Church Street Garage from 9:30 until 11:30 with Scarlett Bobo every single Monday. And other than that, I just post my schedule every month on my Instagram because a lot of my other shows are just kind of here and there randoms. I do one FML Mondays with Mojo every single month, but that's kind of all over the place too.
Amazing. All right. So Instagram, not Facebook.
Not Facebook.
Do you get blocked from Facebook often?
All of the queens do.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of queer people do get blocked from Facebook a lot. It really sucks. A lot of us got blocked because our names were different, right? Because we had if I had Juiceboxx on Facebook instead of my normal name, they would block me, or they would tell me I can't have Facebook until I sent my ID in. A lot of the times, if we say anything that involves anything queer, they block us. Because they say that it's bullying language. If we post any of our costumes, they say it's nudity or revealing. It's a really weird thing that happens in the queer community on Facebook. A lot of queer people get blocked for little things. It's strangely homophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I love that those are the things that they're focusing on. Because
Yeah.
that's what needs more attention in the Facebook world.
Not all of the violent videos people are posting. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if I posted the word fag 6 years ago, they're like, block. I'm like, okay, cool. That's great. Awesome. Love that.
Thanks for nothing, Zuckerberg. All right. So to end off, I thought it would be really fun to do a lightning round.
Oh.
So I'm going to ask you some really easy, really quick questions, and I want you to give me the first answer that pops into your head. Okay. Fave song to perform to?
Oh my God. Either Paper Planes by MIA or Ignition Remix, R. Kelly.
Oh, good choice.
I know, they're so dumb. I love it.
Glitter or sequins?
Glitter, always.
Gaga or Britney?
Oh my God. I mean, for my persona, Britney. She just fits better for me.
Sold out stadium or cozy little dive bar?
Dive bar.
Most important item in the makeup bag?
Glitter.
Chicago or cabaret?
Chicago.
And biggest influence?
Oh my, that's not a lightning round question. I'm just like, what? Biggest influence? My sisters.
Oh.
Yeah. They're really inspirational, the girls that I work with. They're really, really inspirational to watch them and to see these like beautiful performances or these beautiful makeups or these insane costumes. Like they're Toronto is the hardest working girls in all of the whole world. I would say entire world. Like they're a real inspiration to watch. They're horrible bitches, but they're really good at what they do.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
And on that note.
Yeah. On that note, I'm going to go vomit.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and speaking with me. I feel like I know a little bit more about the world of drag, which I'm very ecstatic about. So thanks so much.
I know you're a goddess now.
Thank you.
No problem. Bye. Thanks for having me.
That's our show. Thanks for tuning in this week to Fully Exposed. I hope your ass has been sufficiently educated.
This has been an Evoke Media podcast.